Every year, Star Citizen has a biggest patch. And this year's it's looking like it's going to be the November patch, 4.4. It's our second star system coming to the game in a year, but it is incomplete. It's not really the focus of this video, we'll talk about that at another time, but this does represent something for the game. This patch is going to have a lot of stuff that they've been delivering over the course of this year. New weapons, new factions, a new storyline, content drops, missions, a lot of things that have been kind of scattered, but have dropped in various levels of quality. This patch, all of it comes together. And this is really going to give us a show of like how well CIG is going to handle some of these larger updates that they're going to need to start delivering, I think, in order to hit their 1.0 goal of, well, I don't know, anything. Now, for a lot of you who have been playing the game for a while, you know Nyx has been around. It actually is the first place we ever landed. Delamar used to be in the Stanton system. I'm going to have some B-roll on the screen for all this. Back in 2016, when they were introducing Planet Tech, they needed to use something that was small, that they had already designed early on in the game process, which Nyx, I think, had been designed back in like 2013. A place that would give them, you know, a decent slice of the planetary gameplay they wanted to deliver. So they used Delamar, but they put it into the Stanton system around, I think, where Arc L3 is right now. And that's where we were going. We basically going between the Crusader system and the Delamar system. Couldn't land anywhere on Crusader except for the moons. Anyways, they took it out in 2021, worked it into an actual asteroid now, and are dropping it back into the game. A lot of it is left unchanged, but there are new additions that bring it up to standard with the rest of the landing zones. So the first big addition in 4.4 that we're looking at is the Levski landing zone. It's a settlement on the asteroid of Delamar in the Nyx system. We have Delamar, an inhabited asteroid in the Nyx system, home to the settlement of Levski. Now, just because this was already in the game at one point doesn't mean it's a small addition. It's also coming with several things included. You guys saw it on CitizenCon. It's a pretty unique landing zone. First of all, it is going to be bringing in with it the exterior freight elevators. These are going to be adding new ways of loading and unloading cargo in Nyx and Pyro. Now, they talked about these coming to Pyro. I think they've also talked about these coming to Stanton, but this is going to be big for fixing the Hull C. And a lot of you know the Hull C is kind of broken right now and it's loading and unloading. I think this might be what they're waiting for to fix that. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. So this is creating more demand and more ability to ship large amounts of quantities between the star systems, which coincides with their interstellar hauling missions. These are being implemented starting in one system and ending in another. There's a really nice infographic that released a couple years ago when the Hull C came out, and it shows the idea of the economic flow in Star Citizen. I know there's not much of an economy right now, but we definitely know each outposts, city, space station, all these places are supposed to be economic nodes. They put out materials, they take in materials. And while that might not be working, you know, in line with how players are playing right now, it is something that's going to slowly start to come together. And interstellar hauling missions are a big part of that. I wouldn't think this is going to change things too quickly or rapidly, but adding this to the game gives the economy team something else to look at as a way to start pulling strings in the system and making things a little more interesting. We're going to keep a close eye on this because it's a new step in cargo hauling missions. And considering that Nyx is actually one of the only landing zones in the game that will have zero-G loading, it's going to mix things up. You're not necessarily going to do Nyx to ArcCorp. You're going to do Nyx to Baijini Point. And, you know, the quantity that hits ArcCorp versus Baijini Point is going to be different at some point. So this all starts to get more complex and, you know, bounce against which ships you're using and which places you like to go normally. And that's good for the game. That's healthy. Obviously, along with a new star system comes new jump points. The Nyx jump points are being introduced between Nyx and Pyro and Nyx and Stanton. As was mentioned in the CitizenCon presentation, the Nyx to Stanton jump point doesn't actually exist. It's going to be taken out once we get Castra. The planned format is that Stanton can connect to Pyro and Terra, and Pyro can connect to Nyx and Castra, and Terra can connect to, I actually don't know besides Stanton. But basically, it's going to be a bit of a web. It's not all bidirectional, or, well, it is bidirectional. It's not all going one-to-one to each system. So right now, they're making it easy for us. They're making a triangle of systems between Stanton, Pyro, and Nyx, but this will change in the future, just to, you know, keep you up to date. Next up on the list of additions in 4.4, let's talk about weapons. We've been seeing new weapons every single patch of this year. If you go back to the weapons content YouTube video, you'll find a lot of the weapons that we're getting right now are getting added to the game. That includes the Space AK, or as they're calling it here, which is being added in 4.3.2, the Kill Shot, which actually fires both ballistic and energy projectiles, which is funny. This video showed that gun firing a whole of like 15 months ago, and we didn't notice. Nobody, I don't know anybody who noticed that this was alternating fire, but I think that's hilarious. If you go through this video, there are other things in there that we have seen or we know we are supposed to see throughout this year. Here's the big one that's still missing, unfortunately, the Novia crossbow, but we'll see what happens there. The Grey Cat thing, the Dead Shot, yeah, the Volt weapons are all in here. So the weapons content team moved on from their Squadron 42 work, and Star Citizen's been benefiting from that, clearly, as you can see. Not only is there a new bolt-action mag drum triple barrel buckshot pistol called the Shotgun Pistol Triple Down, there's also the missile launcher, the boom tube, that we saw at CitizenCon. 3 rockets strapped together in a tube, releasing a single deadly payload. This weapon has high spread and an arming distance, leaning into its chaotic, unpredictable nature of finding the sweet spot distance. They also made sure to mention that there's no like aim down sights for this, but I feel it's basically an RPG. How much aim down sights are you going to do in this kind of a game? I'm sure plenty of people will correct me on that in the comments, but this one we saw at CitizenCon as well, and we'll see how it does. I mean, more anti-vehicle weapons is good, but I think more situations in which you can effectively use it against a ship where it's not just floating nose down over you on a outpost would be even better. Now, I did say that the FPS team has been making progress on weapons. They've also been hitting pretty hard on armor this year. Medium Battletech armor is coming in, and I don't really know anything about this actually. Usually we know something or other about the armors that are coming in, but this looks like this. And it's going to have its own Wicklow variant, of course. I got a lot to say about Wicklow, actually. In 4.3.2, the mission pickup on location is working. Now, I don't know if this is exactly what's being used. Oh, look, yeah, it says funny how they do that, you know, write down the text. It's just, I can't read. I tried this out and it's very interesting. This is the beginning of physical mission boards in this game. This is the beginning of dropping into an outpost somewhere out on the frontier and going up to their physical job mission board that says, oh, our windmills ran out of power, or the nearby cave, our water pump has stopped, and you go down and you find it and there are outlaws there and you have to take care of them. Like, this is the basis for actual localized missions rather than just getting everything from the mobiGlas. I haven't used Wicklow at all the whole year. I'm not interested. I think the gameplay is cool. I think the implementation is not really for me, but I'm so excited for how this works with them going forward, Wicklow and whatever other faction people they give for us to get stuff from. That's a pretty cool one. Regardless, that's not part of the 4.4 update. That was just that Wicklow also has his own medium Battletech armor. You're also going to have some new hairstyles in 4.4, as well as 11 new facial hair customizations. Along with the Nyx system, I forgot to mention we're getting the Glaciem ring, a dense asteroid belt located in the Nyx system. This, I think, is going to be a place where they can really start mixing up mining. I don't know how far they're going to go, but they have confirmed that mining's getting some updates over the next few updates in line with Nyx and what's going on in the Nyx system. Along with the Interstellar hauling missions, the importance of mining and refining at Levski, and the fact that Planetech V5 will be updating minerals planetside, I think there's a good chance that we could see something interesting in regards to mining in the Glaciem ring. No confirmation, it's just a feeling, it's just some copium to be quite honest. CIG doesn't tend to go further out than they've talked about, but like I said, they have talked about mining updates, so we'll see. Finally, we have the content, the story elements. This is the continuation of what we've seen with every major patch, really, from Stormbreaker to the Hathor locations, all the way out to the ASD facilities. We've got stories that have been developing over the course of 2025, and they're not going to stop. If you go back to their 1.0 plans, actually, you'll see that they're supposed to be location stories on the roadmap. Actually, I think that's right here. Here we go. Location stories, new missions and narrative arcs set in specific areas, allowing players to experience the uniqueness of various locations in the verse. This is why it's important, I think, to know that these are not events. These are permanent locations, and they are narrative arcs being added to them. These are just drops of narrative mission packs, basically. And there's a new one coming in 4.4. Sworn Enemies, implementing a new operation welcoming players to Nyx. Intersec is looking for contractors willing to investigate abandoned QV logistics stations to follow the trail of Vanduul tech that was sold to ASD. So they're building off of the story we already got in Stanton. It's interesting how they're doing it. While this is like a welcome to Nyx kind of event for us, time-wise, it's also supposed to be, I think, a bit of welcome to Nyx for the folks who are going to be playing the game in 5 years. This is just the flow of the game. Nyx comes after Stanton. Stanton, I actually don't know. I think Stanton's supposed to be the starting system, but Nyx is generally supposed to be, I think, the third or maybe fourth system we go to after Castra and Stanton. So to follow the story into Nyx, you'll find out more, you'll see more, but this almost feels like it's supposed to be a bit of a hub for other missions too. They mentioned that this is going to send you to nearby asteroid facilities, possibly going to have you investigating and finding some evidence that unlocks other missions in the future that might be different based on what you found evidence-wise. These are the things I said at CitizenCon. I don't think they're going to come with 4.4, but it starts to show a bit of how they want to expand out with the way that your contracts start to bounce off of each other and lead to different directions. In fact, I think this is something that has already shown itself a bit in the ASD facilities with the whole worm fight versus finishing up what you're doing and finding that Vanduul being experimented on. I'm going to have more to say about this once we find out more. I'm sure there'll be an Inside Star Citizen that talks a little bit about all this, but for now, I'm pretty interested in what this turns into. I'm not really big on the actual content. You're fighting a new faction, FPS. We've had a bunch of that. Ship combat, we've gotten to plenty of that. And they're introducing the Vanduul, which it's just going to be the ships flying for now, it looks like. So it's kind of like Arena Commander. That's cool. It's definitely a narrative perk of the game. It's starting to expand out more. But as far as technically exciting, it's not really there. What this could mean though, as they go with the content, with the update drops, and what kind of missions they have, that's what gets me excited. Speaking of missions, there's also the Pack 1 of Nyx missions. They're saying this is the first pack of missions for Nyx, using existing archetypes with a fresh new narrative spin against new enemies. So your mercenary missions, your bounty hunting missions, potentially, probably some of your salvage missions out there. Definitely your salvage missions. And hopefully they introduce mining missions finally. They were working on those all the way back in 2022. I hope we see those in Nyx. And that is the lineup of what we're getting in 4.4. It's going to be a big update. That's actually quite a bit of stuff. Obviously, this year has had updates that are different from before, but if you look pre-2024, this would have been probably one of the biggest updates we've ever seen in the game. Now, a new star system is a big part of that. It's a pretty hype addition, and I'm sure it's something they really wanted to make sure to get in this year. But it's not everything. We're still missing a lot of features. We're still missing a lot of tech. And that's why it's good to know that we've also got some testing going on. In fact, the preview channel is looking to be used for Evocati testers later this week. So hopefully we start to see some more Vulkan testing, some more engineering testing, and ultimately some more feature development, as well as these nice content drops that they're doing with an update like 4.4. I don't think this will be the final update of the year. We'll get one more in December that probably smooths some things over, drops a little bit more content, and of course another ship sale. And then they say goodbye to us for, we probably won't get an update in January, but potentially. Either way, this is the big culmination of this year. Assuming that they continue to keep stability on an upward trajectory, not considering the 3 days post 4.3.2 release, maybe this could be a very successful year for them in terms of content and getting the game a little more stable, a little more performant. Either way, I'll check back with you on all of that in December on the main channel. Thank you for checking out this news drop. I hope you learned something here. Hope you're excited to check it out in Evocati and see what's going on. I will try to get some feedback and news and report on that on this channel if you want to subscribe and check it out later. Again, appreciate you all. Hope you're having a lovely day. Take care of yourselves. See you in the next one.